So, starting the process of applying for MSA funding can seem daunting, but break it into manageable steps.
Hello, and welcome to Your Access Smart Talks.
The Smart Talks podcast series is an EU-funded EurAccess project, which provides information and assistance to researchers at any career stage.
EurAccess supports the European research area in its ambition to create a single, borderless market for research, innovation, and technology across the EU.
We support researchers in mobility, careers within and beyond academia, innovation, and entrepreneurship.
We strive to enhance scientific collaboration between Europe and the world.
Today we're talking about Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, the EU's flagship funding program for researchers. We are delighted to host Veronique Sordet. Veronique is the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions National Contact Point in Switzerland and member of the MSCA-NET coordination team working to connect national contact points. We'll cover the basics of MSCA, receive practical advice to secure funding, and hear what makes these fellowships such a game changer for researchers.
Thank you very much for welcoming me. I will be happy to answer your question as a national contact point for Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action in Switzerland.
Veronique, could you give us a short overview of Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions program, and then maybe also discuss some possibilities for researchers, especially in the early stages of their career?
Sure. So the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Action, or the MSCA, is a funding program by the European Union aimed at supporting researcher training and career development for researchers at all stages, including young researchers. The MSCA offers various opportunities for young researchers to engage in international, interdisciplinary, and intersectoral research projects to gain experience and develop skills necessary for a successful research career. Some of the key possibilities and benefits that the MSCA program provides for young researchers are research funding, first. The MSCA offers several types of fellowship, such as the postdoctoral fellowships, called the PF, and the doctoral network, which provide funding for young researchers to undertake research projects at host institutions across Europe and beyond. Then, the international mobility. Young researchers have the opportunity to gain international research by experience by working in different countries and institutions, fostering collaboration and exchange of knowledge. And then, something that is quite unique in this funding program are the trainings. MSCA promote the training aspect in the PF and DN fellowship in order to provide a unique opportunity to start a successful career. But also very important, the networking and the collaboration. The young researchers have access to a vast network of researchers, industry partners, and stakeholders through the MSCA, enabling them to build professional relationships and collaboration that can enhance their career and research prospects. So overall, the MSCA program provides a comprehensive framework for young researchers to pursue their research interests, to develop their skill and establish themselves as an independent researcher in their respective fields. The possibility to combine this research project with a training program in an international, intersectorial, and interdisciplinary program is a unique opportunity, but also something very prestigious and competitive.
Oh, sure. When developing their application, as I understand, the applicants need to provide a clear plan of how they want to promote their career or how they see their career in like couple of years or what they are do after this mobility. But what are the usual cases? So why to apply for such mobility grants? Of course, apart that this is a very prestigious being alumni of Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions. And what additional value usually is emphasized by the participants, for example, for themselves?
So applying for MSA mobility grants offers several compelling reasons for a young researcher. First of all, the excellence. This is, as you said, a competitive grant. So being an MSCA fellow means that you were selected in a big European competition where the success rates are very low. It is a guarantee of quality and excellence. It also demonstrates that you have the capacity to write a competitive and convincing research proposal and that you are able to attract prestigious funding for your career. But then after you have this international and intersectoral experience, the MSCA Mobility Grants provide the researchers with the opportunity to work in different countries and into different institutions, allowing them to gain valuable international experience. These exposures to diverse research environment, culture, and perspective can enrich this research and broaden their professional networks. And then finally, in terms of career development, these mobility grants support researchers in advancing their career by offering training, mentorship, and access to resources that enhance their skill and expertise. This can include opportunities like in intersectoral collaboration, project management, experience, exposure to industry, and this is also something which is quite unique in this program, this intersectoral aspect, which all are very valuable for career advancement. And also I can add, there are again this networking opportunity. So participating in the MSCA program will give you the possibility to have some secondments all around the world. And during this secondment, you can create your network and connecting with peer, mentor, industrial partners, and other stakeholders. This connection can lead to collaboration, job opportunities, and other career prospects. And then what is very important in European project in general, but specific in MSCA project, is the research impact. The mobility grants allow the young researcher to access resources, facility, and expertise that may not be available in their home institutions. This is why they will contribute to high quality research and make meaningful contribution to their field. This can lead to publication, patents, or other kind of output that enhance career impact and visibility. And then the last one is the personal growth. Living and working in a new country can be a transformative experience to foster personal growth and resilience. Researchers often emphasize the personal development they gain from adapting to new environment, overcoming challenges, and embracing cultural diversity. So overall, applying for the MSCA Mobility Grants offer researchers a unique opportunity to advance their career, to broaden their horizon, and make significant contribution to the research and innovation on an international scales.
Wow, you have convinced me already. That's really incredible to hear, and it seems like there's so many different aspects of Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions that can benefit the researcher themselves on many different levels. I was especially impressed. I very much understand the personal growth that can come about from having all these new experiences and being in a different country and living somewhere else for a little bit that can have a profound effect on the researcher themselves, which is so important because that contributes to their work as well. And I think something that it sounds like is like it gives so much to the researcher. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it also improves the scientific community as a whole. If every researcher is allowed to collaborate and to broaden their networks and to broaden their exposure and their opportunities, it really allows them to achieve and to achieve this self-actualization, especially in terms of their career, which leads to greater expansion and greater collaboration and greater discovery in the scientific community. So it benefits us all individually, and it seems like that contributes to the whole as well at the end of the day. So that's amazing to hear. Do you have follow-up from participants that you know of who discussed the impact that Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions had on their lives?
Absolutely. So what you said is very important, is that the idea of this prestigious and competitive grant is to launch a researcher career. This is why the European Commission has this willingness to boost a little bit the young researcher in going to different industries to have interdisciplinary experience is because they would like to select the excellent researcher in Europe and offer them the possibilities to have all the tools in hands to boost their career. And this is why also they force them a little bit to see beyond their scientific field and then scientific project, because they would like that this program is an open door to a successful career. And that after the 2 years of the fellowship, of the 3-4 years of doctoral schools, they are not unemployed, that they have a perspective in their career. This is why they invest so much also into the training part. And when it comes to the testimonial, yes, we have a follow-up testimonial, and this is also willingness from the European Commission, because they ask all the fellows 2 years after their fellowship to complete a questionnaire to see where they are in their career path, in order to track a little bit what's going on after an MSCA fellowship. So there are some common outcomes that are coming from the participant. First of all, it's the career advancement. Many participants have reported that their participation in MSCA mobility grants has significantly boosted their career. They have included training track position, securing research funding, and advancing to high level of responsibilities within academia or industry. And then they become way more competitive for funding. MSCA can allow them to enhance the career researcher track record and increase the competitiveness for other prestigious funding opportunities, such as the European Research Council, the ERC, which is the next step in terms of European funding in a researcher's career. The international experience and the research achievement gained through the MSCA project can strengthen grant application and attract funding from various sources. But also this professional network that they expanded, all this connection they made during the program can end up for after the grant for long-lasting collaboration and partnership with researcher industry all around the world. And then they can also enhance their research skill and expertise, because since the competition is so high, they are a little bit pushed to make excellent researcher and to make some breakthrough. And thanks to the breakthrough, this is a win-win situation for them in terms of developing their career, but also for Europe in a more broad and the research field in order to advance the knowledge in their respective field. And of course, the MSCA stamp, the recognition and the prestige you have behind on your CV is a major milestone in your career, because thanks to that, you're part of the reputation within the research community. It's a guarantee of excellence being an MSCA fellow. This recognition can lead to invitation to serve on, for instance, expert panels, review board, or advisory committees. And all those elements are some career booster after an MSCA grant.
Very good. That sounds very nice and very attractive, by the way. But this is very significant what you mentioned before, that the one who, for example, applied for the doctoral fellowships or then they are already secured the place after they will finish their doctoral thesis, for example, or something like that. And because they have a clear understanding of what they are doing, why they are doing it, and a clear career path that is always a relief, actually, for someone who is in stress. What should I do afterwards? So what would be your advice? Where one should start in order to apply for MSCA funding?
Okay, so starting the process of applying for MSCA funding can seem daunting, but break it into manageable steps. So for that, I will try to provide you the first steps, but the path can be quite long. First of all, you need a strategy. It's not that you will maybe immediately gain an MSCA fellowship after the first application. Like for the ERC, it can require 1 or 2 years of application before you actually get the funding. So keep that well in mind. So also the momentum is important. Where do you stay also in your career? Where do you stay in terms on your field? So all that is important. And then you have to plan it well in advance. So you have first of all to understand the MSCA program. So you have to familiarize yourself with the different kind of MSCA funding, such as postdoctoral fellowship, doctoral network, according to where you stay in your career path. And each scheme has its own objective. Check the eligibility criteria because if you already have a PhD, you will not apply for a doctoral school. So the application process is also something you have to check at this stage. For that, you have one document, which is the MSCA work program, explaining you the scope and how each action is implemented. Then you have to identify your research interest. Clarify your research interest and objective and consider how they align with the goal of the MSCA program. Think about the specific research question you want to address and the potential impact of your research. And then you have to find your host institution. Identifying the potential host institution you would like to carry out your research project. Look for institutions that have expertise and facilities relevant to your research area and reach out to the potential supervisor or collaborators to discuss your idea. And as I mentioned already, you have to check from very quietly in your process the eligibility requirement. The eligibility criteria for the MSCA funding scheme you are interested, including requirements related to the nationality, academic background, and research experience. Make sure you meet all the eligibility criteria before proceeding with your application. You can find them in the MSCA program. And then participate to your national MSCA event. So in each country in Europe and also beyond, you have MSCA National Contact Points, and they will be able to provide you with a lot of supporting material. You can check in your country if some information session or applicant training are organized, and please participate to this event. The MSCA-NET handbook are also very good to support, where you can find hints and tips from the National Contact Point community on how to shape your proposal. And once you have read and prepared all this information, you can start preparing your research proposal. So draft a clear and compelling research proposal that outlines the objectives, the methodology, the expected outcome of your project, and faces the novelty and relevance of your research and demonstrate how it aligns with the priority of the MSCA program. Plan your proposal well in advance in order to have enough time in implementing feedback and correction. And what we often see that is sometimes a little bit neglected is the training part. So you should not resubmit another proposal application. The MSCA funding are very unique, so you have to provide a tailor-made proposal according to the MSCA requirement. And the training part is often something we see that is not really thoroughly think and thoroughly planned, but this is actually a main point for an MSCA application. After, seek for feedback. Feedback on your proposal, research proposal from mentors, colleagues, your MSCA National Contact Point who have experience with the MSCA program or similar funding schemes. Incorporate that feedback to strengthen your proposal and address any potential weaknesses. And then you will be ready to submit your application. So follow the application instruction provided by the MSCA program carefully and submit your application by the specific deadline. There is no exception there. Double check that all the data are here in order to complete your application and that you are error-free. So by following these steps and staying organized and proactive through the application process, you can increase your chance of securing MSCA funding for your research project.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I think when you look at a proposal or when you look at such a prestigious institution such as Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, it can seem a little bit daunting for a researcher who's going up against so many fellow researchers to apply for these funding schemes and for these grants. I think for those listening at home now, if you're listening to this podcast and you're listening to this very clear-cut process, you already are doing the right thing, and you're already doing the right moves that you need to do in order to secure these funding schemes. All those points that Veronique laid out, thank you so much. That was very, very point by point and very clear. I'm wondering if you have any other tips and tricks for a successful proposal that the researchers listening could be benefited by, in addition to the very clear-cut process which you just outlined for them.
Oh yeah, providing tips is my favorite part of my NCP job. So we have been reading proposals for the last 10 years and helping researchers reshaping their proposal in order to maximize the change is what I like the most, because I'm not a scientific, basically. I am a manager and communication specialist. So here bring two knowledge together in order to try to shape the best proposal is one of my favorite activities. So I have tons of trip and hits, but I will try a little bit to group them to provide you with some information. So as you know, you have very restrictive rules and instruction and page limitation, and you have to cope with all that. So from my experience, what I see is from the beginning is very important to have some clear defined objectives and not some sub-objective like that, but the big pictures is very important. Ask yourself what you would like to achieve and which potential impact you would like to have with your work. Demonstrate how your research will address a significant challenge or advance the knowledge in your field. And these clear pictures is sometimes missing in the proposal we are reading. And also think about the impact, because this will be another section of your proposal, and they will ask you to go quite far with your thinking, because they will like to ask you the impact you will have on the scientific field, but also on the economical aspect and on the societal aspect. So you have to think why now, and how. Because since the competition is so high, they would like to see ambitious project. But you should also give them the impression that your project is feasible. If you have a great idea, if you are the right person at the right institution, but your project will not be successful because it's not thoroughly planned and organized, this might jeopardize a little bit the outcome of the evaluation. So you should find a good balance between ambitious but successful project. And then tailor your proposal. So especially nowadays with all the AA tools we have, or all the hints and advice you have, you should be the one behind your project, behind your proposal. So customize the proposal to align closely with the priority and objective of the MSCA program. So between what you would like to and what their requirement, this is another balance you should find. Tailor your research plan, the methodology, and the expected outcome to fit the requirements of the program. Sometimes maybe you will have the impression, yeah, but where is the science? I have to write about this impact and all the communication and dissemination plan. But this is important for the European Commission to know. Keep in mind also that it's public money behind. So you have to give something back to the community that's going to finance your project. So this is why they have all these different parts in your proposal. And then highlight the innovation and the originality. This is the answer of why you as a brilliant researcher, but also why this project and not the other project in the pile of projects. So emphasize the novelty and innovation of your research idea. Highlight why it's a unique approach, a unique methodology, and how it matches together. Demonstrate how your research will contribute to advancing knowledge and addressing concurrent gap or challenge you may currently have in your field. You will start by the state of the art. And state of the art, why? First of all, to see that you are the expert in your field and you are able to identify the gaps and how, thanks to your project, you will fulfill these gaps. And then what is quite unique in this MSCA program, again, is this collaboration and this transfer of knowledge. So you will have to write about that too. Therefore, fostering collaboration with researcher, institution, and industry partner can enhance the quality and impact of your research. You have to think for the opportunities for interdisciplinary collaboration and knowledge exchange. So for that, you have already to engage with the different stakeholders and to demonstrate how together they will contribute to the success of your project, but also how to boost your career. And then there's all these different planification you will have to make. You will have to plan all your trainings. You will have to plan all your communication, dissemination, and transfer of knowledge. So developing plan for disseminating the result of your research and ensuring that they reach the relevant audience. Consider how you will communicate your findings through publication, presentation, workshop, and other channels. And finally, the last part of your proposal will be how you're going to implement all that. So the implementation in your Gantt chart, how it is planned through the different years, through the different months, but also through the different partners that will be part of your project in terms of industrial secondment, for instance, or when you're going to move toward the different institution within your project. So by incorporating all these tips and tricks into your MSCA proposal and mobility experience, you can increase your chance of success and maximize the benefit of your participation in the program. But for more input on each part of your proposal for the MSCA NCP community, I strongly recommend you to start reading the relevant documents, the MSCA work program, and the MSCA handbook for your application. So you have no excuse not to start with your application. It's time to boost your career with this European research funding and start with an MSCA fellowship.
I am curious personally. We didn't list this on the questions, but do you happen to know of a specific case, a very specific case of some big success story that might have come out of Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions that you could tell? It's also okay if you don't have that, or if for whatever legal reasons you can't discuss that, but that might be nice to hear.
Yes, we do. I don't have name, but I have career path examples to provide you. We have a researcher who they start with an MSCA fellowship, and thanks to this selection they passed and the knowledge they gain, they continue with the ERC. And once you can combine an MSCA and together with an ERC starting right after, you're on a good way to go to the tenure track position in any kind of institution around Europe. And then your career is basically launched and you can attract more funding, you make your connection. So European funding is a complete strategy over a researcher career. If you plan it thoroughly from the beginning, saying, okay, this is the different step I would like to try, but you also allocate you enough time and be strategic, because when it comes to MSCA or to ERC, you have some eligibility window you should not miss. And also by allocating you time, saying, okay, maybe I try this year, I will fail, but I will then have the feedback from the evaluators and be able to reshape my proposal. Maybe I will pass next year. And this is actually the way it works. So European funding can fulfill of research career lifetime with this different application. But after you have also to search on a national level, so to combine that with national level. So it's quite strategic thinking behind all this application and how you're going to boost your career. But the thing is, once you start and once you're in the loop and once you know what they want, you understand the system, you will only get better because you have your network, you have your connections, you have the knowledge, you know how to write the proposal, you know all the different instructions and the rules, you know who are the best partner, etc. So next time it will be successful. And indeed, this is what we see, that it's not big. It is becoming a close club, but the more you try, the better you will get, and the easiest it will be for you to attract European funding. And then after, once individually your career is launched, you can go for bigger project, collaborative project in parallel. So we have cases of some of our researchers. They start with the MSCA fellowship, and then by their connection, they get this ERC, and then they know also in parallel what you can do is being yourself an expert. So they are now supervisor, they are welcoming their lab MSCA fellow, but in parallel, they are also evaluating European project like that. They see the other part of the whole and see a little bit how it works and what are the criteria, so they can after bring back this knowledge and applying themselves for other major fundings.
I just want to comment on something on what Veronique said just now. That it sounds like almost like it's like learning an instrument or a language, and that at the beginning the initial investment is very daunting and it's very tricky, or it seems like it might be that way. But once you pick up the skills and once you pick up the necessary, once you put enough effort into it, it's a lot easier and a lot more clear on your path ahead, and the benefit you get from it, like you said, being able to continue on and understanding and moving on to ERC grants, that's tremendous. And like you said, it sets up your entire career. And then when you said the part about having a supervisor, which is very interesting, that's like having, an instrument teacher. Now you have somebody who is on the other side who is able to, walk you through the steps. And that's a great relationship. And I think that's so helpful and important for our listeners to hear that and to understand that they're not going to be alone in this process.
Exactly. And this is also a way of collaborating with all this EU research community and the European Commission, because they will also ask you, since they put in so much emphasis in all this outreach event, collaboration, communication and everything. So they expect you also that you become a kind of MSCA ambassador after your career. So there's the MSCA Alumni Association, which is very active, that you stay connected with the community, but also that you become yourself, you promote a little bit this MSCA all around the world, and that you can continue your MSCA career by indeed being a supervisor, being an expert, etc. So we say once the MSCA family, never left the MSCA family on several levels, because this will do your entire career then. Actually, I admire the scientific community so much, because this is not their job. They are scientists. They have been trained to deal with science, but they have to become at the same time communicator. It's a marketing exercise.
Yes, exactly. Sell yourself and sell this opportunity. Yeah.
Exactly. So even worse after with the ERC, where you have to go to Brussels and make these interviews where in a couple of minutes you have to pitch your project. And this is not what exactly to the panel. This is not what they have been trained for. They have trained to make science, but nowadays it's way more than that. They have to be good communicator. They have been good with outreach exercise. They have to be good in writing, because sometimes we see brilliant people, we see brilliant idea, but the proposal is not well written. And this is where we can bring our added values as National Contact Point. But they should be so multitasking that we admire this research community when they are able to attract such funding, because it's more and more demanding about reflection and input outside the science itself.
Veronique, thank you very much for being our guest today. We are inspired, and let's explore more in the second episode on Marie Skłodowska-Curie opportunities for postdoctoral fellowships.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Euraccess Smart Talks.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and can't wait to share more with you next time.
You can follow us and find more episodes on the Your Access portal or wherever you listen to podcasts.
This episode was prepared by audio engineer Pavle Drashkovich, outreach manager Daria Aksionova, production manager Jacob Wiesenfeld, editors Isar Pier and Miroslav Trajanovic.
This episode is published under the Creative Commons CC BY license.
Thanks for listening.